Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this online lecture series of data mining. The course code for this course is ITEC 4124. In the previous lecture of association rule mining, we have learned the working of the a priori algorithm. We have also learned how can we mine frequent item sets from a data set, and how can we generate association rules from the frequent item sets. We also have learned in the previous lecture that how can we evaluate or measure the interestingness of the a priori algorithm. So in this lecture on the topic of association rule mining, we are going to introduce or discuss some major extensions or the improvements in the a priori algorithm. So as we know, since the proposal of the this famous a priori algorithm, there have been many interesting extensions or improvements towards this method. But first we have to know what are the reasons behind studying improvements or extensions of this a priori algorithm. So if you remember the example that we have solved in our previous example in a priori algorithm, you might remember that we have to scan database multiple times in order to calculate the sport count of the candidate item sets. So this is a major challenge. So this is a major challenge because being a IT students or computer science students, we know shifting from main memory to disk and disk to CPU is computationally very expensive. So this is a major challenge of using a priori algorithm, that we have to scan or shift from CPU to disk and disk to CPU multiple times. So another challenge of a priori algorithm is the generation of huge number of candidates or candidate item sets. As in our example of the a priori algorithm, we had learned that we have to generate candidate item sets at each iteration, and from those candidates we generate the and using those candidates and candidate item sets, we scan the transactional database and calculate the sport count of each candidate or candidate item set. So after that we check the sport count or minimum sport count or minimum sport value and compares the sport count of each candidate item set, and then we discard the candidates that not fulfill the minimum sport threshold value. So the challenge is we have to generate large number of candidate item sets, and from those candidate item sets we remove or discard the candidate item sets that does not fulfill the minimum sport threshold value. So this is again a big challenge because we are generating very huge number of candidate item sets. So in the extensions or improvements of this a priori algorithm, we learned how we can reduce this number of candidate item sets, that we can mine only the those candidate item sets that are frequent. So the third major challenge in this a priori algorithm is the tedious workload of spot counting for candidates. as we have discussed in the second point, that first we generate large number of candidate item sets, and then we again scan the database and calculate spot count for each candidate item sets. This is a very expensive, computationally expensive of generating large number of candidate item sets and then counting the spot count for each candidate. So these are some challenges or problems in the working of the a priori algorithm that lead us to the some extensions or improvements of the a priori algorithm. So let's just examine some of these improvements and alternatives of the a priori algorithm. So the first line of work is how to reduce the number of passes of transaction database, or how can we reduce the number of scans or shifts from CPU to disk or disk to CPU, because this is very computationally expensive. So as we know that a database can involve disk accessing, which could be quite expensive, but if we want to find suppose size of 10 frequent item sets, so likely you have to scan the database 10 times. That's quite expensive. So if we want to scan the frequent item sets of length 12, we have to scan this database 12 times. So this is very expensive to compute. So to reduce the number of scans, there are several publications, and one of them is called partitioning method. So we are going to introduce another method called dynamic item set counting method. So in our upcoming slides, we are going to discuss the partitioning method of association rule mining. So another line of work is how to shrink the number of candidates. As we know in our previous slide, we have discussed that a priori algorithm generate large number of candidate item sets. So this is computationally expensive. So these studies demonstrate that how we can reduce the number of candidate item sets. So in these extensions or improvements of the a priori algorithm, we will learn how we can generate candidate item sets that are frequent. So hashing method is an interesting one for mining max patterns. So the third line of work is to explore some special data structures like tree projection measured using H-tree, to do H-miner, and hypercube decomposition is another interesting method. But we are going to introduce a new tree structure called FP tree, or frequent pattern tree. So let's look at the first method of partitioning method. Partitioning method. In partitioning method, you only need to scan database twice. So before you generate all the frequent item sets, no matter for how many cases it is. So they observed a very interesting property called any item set that is potentially frequent in the transactional database must be frequent in at least one of its partitions. That means, suppose you get a global big database or big transactional database, and you partition them into K partition: transactional database 1, transactional database TB2, and transactional database 3 up to transactional database K. So if any item set X is not frequent in any of these K partitions, it cannot be frequent in this entire transactional database or global transactional database TDB. So why? You people can see, if you are going to suppose if item set X, which is not frequent in the first one transactional database, and it is not frequent in the second transactional database, and even not frequent in any of the partitions. So you add them together, you add all these sports or together, you get a global sport I. So you add all, similarly you add all these transactional databases together, you get a global transactional database TDB. So you people can see, if everyone is smaller than sigma I times its size, then finally the global one will also be smaller than sigma times the size of the global database. That's why at least one of these databases must contain, then it will be a frequent. So in other words, अगर जैसे कि पार्टीशनिंग थ्योरम में हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं कि कोई आइटम सेट फ्रीक्वेंट तभी होगी जब वो अपने किसी सब सब डेटाबेस और पार्टीशंस ऑफ द ट्रांजैक्शनल डेटाबेसेस में वो फ्रीक्वेंट होगी. अगर वो इन पार्टीशंस में फ्रीक्वेंट नहीं है, वो आइटम सेट सपोज कोई एक्स आइटम सेट फ्रीक्वेंट नहीं है, तो वो ग्लोबल ट्रांजैक्शनल डेटाबेस में कभी भी फ्रीक्वेंट नहीं हो सकती. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर किसी आइटम सेट का सपोर्ट इस पार्टीशन में कम है, जिसका हम लोग सिग्मा से रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, और वो ट्रांजैक्शनल सेकंड पार्टीशन में भी वो फ्रीक्वेंट नहीं है और सपोर्ट काउंट उसका मिनिमम सपोर्ट थ्रेशोल्ड से कम है, और सिमिलरली वो किसी भी पार्टीशन में उसका सपोर्ट काउंट मिनिमम सपोर्ट थ्रेशोल्ड से ज़्यादा नहीं है, सो उसका सपोर्ट काउंट कभी भी ग्लोबल ट्रांजैक्शनल डेटाबेस के केस में कभी भी मिनिमम सपोर्ट थ्रेशोल्ड से ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. और जब उसका सपोर्ट काउंट किसी आइटम सेट का मिनिमम सपोर्ट थ्रेशोल्ड से ज़्यादा नहीं होगा, तो वो कभी भी फ्रीक्वेंट आइटम सेट कंसीडर नहीं की जा सकती. So with this observation we can see that this partitioning method will need only 2 scans. So the first scan is you partition the database into K partitioning databases. And how do you partition them? Each partition you want them to fit into the main memory. So partition the databases in a way that each subpartition fits into the main memory, that we don't need to shift from the CPU or main memory to the disk or disk to main memory. So that's why we partition the database in such a way that each sub partition fits into the main memory, as the number of IOs reduced. So that's why that's the reason you can scan once you put them in the database. So you can work on it to drive k frequent item sets for no matter how many cases you can get. That means you can drive all the local frequent item sets. Then based on this property you can do the second scan like this. Okay, you can say since any frequent item set in one of these k transactions can be potentially frequent, so the global candidate sets which is frequenting any one of these partitions, so it will be a global or candidate item set. Then the second scan you just count against each database count. These counts of the global candidate sets, okay, then you will get their count, or you add them together, you will be able to drive global frequent patterns. That's why this method granted to scan database only twice. So this is pretty interesting. So अगर इसको सिंप्लीफाई करके अगर मैं इसको समझाना चाहूँ तो हमारा पहला क्वेश्चन या चैलेंज था कि ए प्रियोरी एल्गोरिथम में कि हमें बहुत ज़्यादा स्कैन्स करने पड़ते हैं डेटाबेस को, मतलब हमें मूव करना पड़ता है मेन मेमोरी से टू द डिस्क और द सेकेंडरी मेमोरी. सो दिस इज़ जो कि बहुत ज़्यादा कंपटिशनली एक्सपेंसिव है. सो क्यों ना इन नंबर ऑफ स्कैन्स को रिड्यूस किया जाए ताकि हमारा जो कंपटिशनली एक्सपेंसिवनेस है वो उसको कम किया जा सके, ताकि लेस टाइम में हम लोग ज़्यादा फ्रीक्वेंट आइटम सेट्स को जनरेट कर सकें. सो उसके लिए हमने देखा कि हमारे पास एक एल्गोरिदम या एक एक्सटेंशन है ए प्रियोरी एल्गोरिदम की, जिसे हम पार्टीशनिंग मेथड बोलते हैं. सो पार्टीशनिंग मेथड ये अश्योर करता है कि हम सिर्फ 2 डेटाबेस स्कैन्स में हम अपने फ्रीक्वेंट आइटम सेट्स को या फ्रीक्वेंट पैटर्न्स को हम एवेल्युएट या माइन कर सकते हैं. सो अगर हम उस पार्टीशनिंग थ्योरम की बात करें तो उसमें हम लोग ये कहते हैं कि अगर कोई आइटम सेट अपने किसी पार्टीशंस सब पार्टीशन ऑफ द डेटाबेस में फ्रीक्वेंट नहीं है, सो वो आइटम सेट कभी भी अपने द ग्लोबल डेटाबेस में वो कभी भी फ्रीक्वेंट नहीं हो सकती. सो हमने पहले बात की कि पार्टीशनिंग मेथड क्या करता है, एक ग्लोबल डेटाबेस को TDB ट्रांसैक्शनल डेटाबेस को वो क्या करता है सब पार्टीशंस में डिवाइड करता है. सो हमने पहले क्या किया, उसको ट्रांसैक्शनल डेटाबेस 1, ट्रांसैक्शनल डेटाबेस 2 अप टू ट्रांसैक्शनल डेटाबेस के. मींस हमने एक ग्लोबल डेटाबेस को के पार्टीशंस में या के सब डेटाबेसेस में हम लोगों ने उसे डिवाइड कर लिया. सो फर्स्ट स्कैन ऑफ द पार्टीशनिंग मेथड हमें क्या करता है कि हम डेटाबेस को पार्टीशनिंग करें उस डेटाबेस की. सो कैसे करें, इस तरह करें कि जो पार्टीशंस हैं हमारे पास TDB 1 है या ट्रांसैक्शनल डेटाबेस 2 है या के ट्रांसैक्शनल डेटाबेस है, वो इस तरह हम लोग पार्टीशंस बनाएं कि वो जो सब पार्टीशंस हैं वो हमारी मेन मेमोरी के अंदर फिट हो सकें. सो अगर ये ट्रांसैक्शनल डेटाबेस सब ट्रांसैक्शनल डेटाबेसेस मेन मेमोरी के अंदर फिट नहीं हो रही, सो क्वेश्चन अगेन वही रहेगा कि हमें अगेन मूव करना पड़ेगा मेन मेमोरी से डिस्क के ऊपर और डिस्क से अगेन मेन मेमोरी के ऊपर. क्यों? क्योंकि हमारा जो सब पार्टीशन है वो मेन मेमोरी के अंदर फिट नहीं हो रही. सो हम इस तरह पार्टीशंस करेंगे कि हमारी जो सब पार्टीशंस हैं वो मेन मेमोरी के अंदर ऑक्यूपाई हो सकें, एंड देन वहाँ पे हम चाहे जितनी बार मर्जी उसको कैलकुलेट कर सकें, जितनी भी कंप्यूटेशन करना चाहें कर सकें, हमारी वो काम बहुत ही फास्ट वे में हो जाएगा, क्योंकि डाटा हमारा या जो पार्टीशन हमारी डाटाबेस है वो हमारी मेन मेमोरी के अंदर पड़ी हुई है। सो वहाँ से हम लोग क्या करेंगे, लोकल फ्रीक्वेंट पैटर्न्स कैलकुलेट कर लेंगे ईच पार्टीशन के लिए। ओके, एंड देन सेकेंड स्कैन में हम लोग क्या करेंगे, हम कंसोलिडेट करेंगे ग्लोबल फ्रीक्वेंट पैटर्न्स को। सो जो हमने सब पार्टीशंस में हम लोगों ने फ्रीक्वेंट आइटम सेट्स देखी हुई हैं, सो इन ग्लोबल सेकेंड स्कैन के अंदर हम लोग सिर्फ उन ही फ्रीक्वेंट आइटम सेट्स को देखेंगे जो कि सब पार्टीशंस में फ्रीक्वेंट थी। ओके, आई होप you have understand the working of the partitioning algorithm. So the question is, why does this method grant you to scan transactional database only twice? So I hope you get the answer of this question. So as you know, the first scan is, in first scan we divide the database into sub-partitions and find the local frequent patterns, and in the second database scan we consolidate the global frequent patterns. So another method which is I'm going to introduce you called direct hashing and pruning method, which is also known as DHP. So this method is trying to reduce the number of candidate sets or shrink the number of candidates, as we have discussed in the challenges of a priori algorithm, that a priori algorithm produces a large number of candidates. So using this extension of a priori algorithm, which is DHP, we can reduce the number of candidates or shrink the number of candidates using this hashing and pruning method. So the observation is, if k item set is frequent, then in this hashing bucket it contains several potential item sets that must be frequent. So if the hash count is not frequent, then any of them cannot be frequent. So the general philosophy looks like this. Okay, when you are going to drive the frequent one item set, which is A, B, D, E. So the frequent two item sets, before you get a frequent one, then the candidate two item sets, which could be really big, as in case of you can see in the a priori case, this is very expensive and really big. So but if we set a hash entry for to get several item sets together that share one hash entry, then the whole hash table will not be too big. So then the interesting thing is, why you drive frequent one item sets. You also can cut when you drive frequent one item set, you also can cut many two item sets, as they cannot be frequent. So suppose for example, our minimum support threshold is 70. So then this item set or this transaction or these item sets whose support count is 35, they are not frequent. Similarly, this one has also minimum support also has a support count of 51, which is also below our minimum support threshold of support count threshold of 70. So that implies these items or none of these items can be frequent, because they share this entry 58 and in this case of 35. So only the second one in the transactional database, which is BD, BE and DE, and their port count is quite big, which is 298, which passes the minimum port threshold of 70. So this may contain the real rare candidate sets or frequent item sets. So that's the reason you can reduce the number of candidates substantially using this hashing and pruning measure. So now we are going to look at another interesting pattern mining method, which is mining frequent patterns by exploring vertical data format. So this method is called ECLAT, or equivalent class transformation method. So the general philosophy look like this. The original transaction database is in horizontal data format. In this sense, you could get it every row you get a transactional ID, which is in this case 10. You get transactional IDs and a set of item sets in this item set entry. Like in this case we have transactional ID 10 and item sets, corresponding item sets A, C, D and E in this case. Similarly, for transactional ID 20 we have some item sets in this transaction. So then you can change this from horizontal data format to vertical data format like this. For every item A, you will see which transactional IDs associated with item set A. That means A bought in which transactions. So like A bought in transaction 10, as we can see in this transactional database, as well as A was bought in transaction ID of 20. So similarly for items at B, items at C and items at D and E. So we can convert this transactional database, which is in horizontal data format, into transactional database of vertical data format. So as we can see for transaction E, items at E, we can see E was bought in transaction 10, transaction 20 and transaction 30. So we convert this transactional horizontal data format transactional database into vertical data format. So what's the benefit of this? The first thing is you transform the item sets into transaction ID lists. Transaction ID list. The total size is approximately same if every entry or every ID. So the total size is approximately same if every entry or every ID they have the similar number of bytes, but the way to compute this will be different. So with this transactional ID or TID list, for example, if you say what is TID list of E or TID list of items at E, you can get it 10, transaction 10, transaction 20 and transaction 30. Similarly, if we say what is the transaction ID list of transaction or items at A, then we can easily say that it is 10 and 20. So then how to drive the TID list of transaction AE? So you just intersect their TID lists, like what is intersection of this and this TID list. so we will get 10 and 20. So if this TID list of AE contains sufficient number of transactions, and that means it's frequent. Means कि अगर ये ट्रांसैक्शनल आईडी हमारी मिनिमम नंबर ऑफ ट्रांसैक्शंस में अकर होती है, सो देन हम कह सकते हैं कि ये जो आइटम सेट AE है ये फ्रीक्वेंट आइटम सेट है. Suppose we say that we set the minimum support is 2, then this AE item set AE will be frequent item set. If this one is infrequent, then you don't need AE to go further. That's a similar thing as a priori principle. Then the properties of the TID list basically say if this two TID list transactional ID X and transactional ID Y is equivalent, that means they have the same set of transactions. Like in this example, if the TID list AC and TID list of item set D is equivalent if and only if their they contain the same number of transactions. So if, and the second property of TID list is if this one is the subset of the other one, that simply says that the transaction containing X must always contains Y. As in this case, if T of AC is the subset of TCE if and only if the transactions of AC also occurs in the transactions of item sets of CE. So you probably can see, if we try to drive frequent patterns based on this vertical intersection, we just need to see the size of these transactions list. But there is one interesting method called diff set to accelerate the mining. The reason is, when you get a very large number of transactions, then this each item may be associated with a very long transaction ID list. Then their intersection like this TE could be very large. Intersection could be like if we talk about TE, it occurs in transactions 10, 20 and 30, and the item sets CE, and these items occurs together in transaction 10 and transaction 30. Then if we calculate the intersection of these two item sets, then we get T10 and T20. Their intersection is T10 and T30. So you look at the transaction is large, so but the difference could be small. For example, you intersect this two, their intersection is 10 and 30, so but the difference is only T20. So you only keep this, so you don't have to keep TCE. That may save a lot of space. So this is the general idea using diff set approach in eClat. So you can further improve this efficiency. So that's it for today's lecture. Thank you.